Yo, what's up? VaJohnna here with another tutorial, and today I'm going to be talking about everybody's favorite thing right now, or your least favorite thing depending on who you are: clusters. People have been really into my clusters lately, and everybody at Lost Lands was really asking me a lot of stuff about them, so I figured I'd make a video of you guys so you could further understand how to make your own clusters if you can't really put your hands in that position, maybe on how to improve your dexterity, and just like an insight into what I do when I make my dials. So when I'm thinking about dials, I don't think of them as just like a finger on top like this or just like this. Like, yes, those are dials, but like also if you think about it as in two or more lights or fingers touching each other, that's also a dial. So like technically, like you have these two fingers, if you touch them together like this, in my eyes, that's a dial. Like this, dial, dial. Same with three. Boom, dial, dial, and like you can dial like that or like that. And then four, everybody knows those, and this. And then there's this one, those. Like there's tons and tons and tons of different ways to dial your fingers together, but just remember that at the end of the day, it's just when two or more lights are touching each other, excuse me, not just when they're on top of each other. So like, for example, doing like a triangle dial, like I know a lot of people do that one where it involves all 10 fingers, but I don't really do that one a whole lot. I'd rather do it like with 6 fingers or 6 lights. So like that's all dialed together. That's technically a cluster. That's a cluster. Like you can turn it whatever way you want. It's still a cluster because all the lights are clustered together. So in order to like do some more complex clusters, you need to be pretty good at like isolating your fingers, and the best way to go about doing that, so like when I was practicing the 9-point and switching it from this, like, because when I first figured it out, it was like this. It wasn't like this, like how like Josh took off with it and took it there. I did it more of like this dial. And when I switched to doing this, I needed to really like drill it, so I got it down. And the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is to just separate your hands from each other. So like when I'm coming up with more complex movements, it's kind of hard for your brain to get that mind-hand connection that you really want right away, because like you're not used to the motion. So if you just like separate your hands from each other and then go about practicing that motion, it might make it a little bit easier for you. So like when you're practicing this stuff, like all you gotta do is just take your hands apart and go about the motion, each individual hand. And when you get it like one at a time, you start to be able to build up that mind-to-hand connection. And then when you like get it down packed and it's pretty much damn near perfect, that's when you slap your hands together and start to do like the more complex motions where you're conjoining your hands together. So as in terms of like improving your dexterity to do dials, there's a couple different exercises that I like to do. Let me see, I need a flat surface. So pretend like you got a table in front of you, or I use my steering wheel like always. And like a lot of people can't pinch their finger like that. So all you gotta do is just like put your hand in this position and then like slap it on the table like this, or on the side of your steering wheel or whatever, and just like, I'll move it down a little bit, and just pinch behind it, and use your steering wheel as like that isolation point to keep your hand from like folding in upon itself. And then after you pinch it, you come back out and open it up and dial it like this, and you open the top one and then you close it. But you like isolate the ring finger, so you don't pop that down at all. You pop it open up, and then you do the same thing again, and then you pop it down, isolating on the middle finger now instead of the ring finger. And what that does is like get your hand used to wanting to isolate around that position, and then once you get comfortable enough isolating around that position, using like a sturdy surface, that's when you can take your hand off and start to really isolate like which part of your hand moves around more. Oh, and sorry, so like once you do that thing, you do it up, and then you do it down, that's one repetition. Like, one way is not one repetition. You gotta go both ways for one repetition. And I usually do that like 10 or 15 times. And if you've never done this type of stuff before, it's gonna hurt your hands like really bad, because you're like straining your all the shit in there that makes your hands move, because it doesn't want to move like that. Because when you're doing these complex dials like this, you gotta really like think to put yourself there. Your hands don't naturally want to be in those positions, so you've got to like coach them to want to be there. And the second really good exercise I do actually started to like help make this angle better, because like my left hand sucks, and it used to be like way worse, but it's getting there. So like, you put your hand on a flat surface, steering wheel, once again, whatever you got, with just these 3 fingers. And then you pinch your pinky and thumb behind, all while trying to like maintain this 90-degree angle. And then all you do is you just open it up and dial your middle finger to one side like this. And when you dial the finger, you're just gonna open your pinch in the back, and you gotta make sure you open it all the way up, because otherwise you're just cheating yourself and you're not getting the full motion. So you close the pinch after you open it, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the finger that's dialed and move it towards the other finger. So I'm gonna move my ring finger towards my pointer finger, all while still trying to keep this pinch and 90-degree angle in the back. So you just close, and then you open the pinch again, and then close the pinch. And once again, you gotta open it all the way, otherwise you're just cheating yourself. Then you open it back up, open the pinch, close the pinch. And then you're gonna dial back, or not back over, depending on which way you started. You're gonna dial over to your pointer finger, and then you're gonna open the pinch again all the way, and then close the pinch. And then you're gonna move the dial finger over. And then you're gonna, oh, sorry, I'm skipping a step. Then you're gonna open the pinch and close the pinch. Then open that, open the pinch and close the pinch. And you're just gonna do that. And like, once again, going both ways is one repetition. So once again, do that like 10 or 15 times, excuse me, or however like many times you can do it until your hand like really hurts, because you don't want to push yourself. You want to push yourself, but you don't want to push yourself too far so you don't hurt yourself. That is key. And like, really loosen your hands up before you do this stuff. Like, shake them out, do some finger rolls, like do wrist rolls, all that shit, to just really get like everything loosened up, because you don't want to rush into doing this stuff, because you can really hurt your hands, because you are straining your shit really bad. So yeah, those are 2 exercises that I do, and if you just do those like 10 or 15 times and like maybe 2 times a day, your dexterity will improve for these type of digits and dials. So when I'm coming up with new stuff, I like to keep it simple. I like to take dials that everybody does and just put my own little flair on them. So like, isolations are a big part of that. So once again, you gotta practice your isolations to really get your clusters to where you want them to be at. But for example, like one that I came up with at Los Angeles this weekend is just, you're just combining, you take a simple dial on each hand and you just combine the 2 dials. So like, practicing in the mirror is a big part too, because without practicing in the mirror, I wouldn't know where to put this hand in relation to the other hand to keep the separation between my lights equal. And that's a big part of clusters too, is really making sure you focus on the distance in between the lights, because if it's not the same, it just looks like a mess like this, and it doesn't really look unified and organized. So the concept is just this. All you do is you just take this finger and undial it and dial it on your pointer finger, while simultaneously going from this dial to this dial. So it goes like this. And now I have 2 individual lights, and either 4 lights together, or 2 groups of 2, or I can separate them and have a box, and then you can flap those, or pinch there, or close it, and then you could close it there. Now you got 2 groups of 3, and there's all these different things you can do with just simple dials. The only thing you have to do is just slow down and watch what you're doing. That can be either watching from what you're doing in a camera, watching what you're doing in a mirror or window, whatever. Like, just pay attention to what you're doing and slow it down, and really like see all the different pathways you can go with stuff. Like another simple dial right here. Like everybody does this stuff, but like nobody does this. So like that's advanced as fuck. I feel like not many people can like just come up with something like that, but I feel like if the majority of people start to slow down while they do their clusters and think about different ways you can take like this and you can take these two and just flip them in there, and now you have a whole nother pinch and you can close it and you have just a whole new group of dials. So just take simple dials and fuck around with them. That's my best advice for trying to come up with new stuff. So let's recap. Dials are just when lights or fingers are touching each other. Work on those exercises. Focus on the distance in between the lights, and slow down and pay attention and watch what you're doing when you're working on clusters. That was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but hopefully I got a lot of good information out. If you guys have any other questions on clusters or dials or whatever you got a question for, hit me up. I'm an open book. I'm not going to charge you anything. This is a hobby. It's for fun. I'll hook you guys up with whatever you want to know. So once again, VaJohnna, hit me up. Peace out.